Hi, this is Vince, Auto Restoration Videos. Make sure you check out my website, autorestorationvideos.com. Of course, there's a lot more on there that covers all kinds of these different videos and scenes that were deleted and extra photos that could prove interesting. Now, let's get back to front end alignment on the 82 Porsche 911 SC. Alright, just got done rebuilding the whole front end on the car. I mean everything, alright? So what we have to do now is to do a front end alignment. Alright, now, the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that your steering wheel is in like the neutral position. Alright? I mean, it's just, you can read the writing on it and everything, and it's locked in the straight ahead, wheel straight ahead, and your steering wheel is on straight. Alright? That's the position we want to start at. Because this way your wheels will be exactly straight ahead, and you'll be ready to go. You don't want to start adjusting your wheels when you had that steering wheel cocked either to the left or to the right. It's going to mess you all up. Okay? Now, the first thing you want to do too is you want to get in the ballpark with your wheels. What I normally suggest is getting a 90-degree ruler, alright, a big one like a carpenter's rule. We'll show that to you in a second. And putting it on your rotor, when your rotor's going straight ahead, and make sure that the one edge, the side edge of that ruler is coming out at a 90-degree angle at you. Alright? You don't want it facing backwards or forwards. This is just to get you in the ballpark. Alright? You put that straight edge on there with a 90-degree ruler, you can get a pretty good idea. Then you can go ahead and adjust your tie rod ends to make sure that you have that 90-degree angle on there. Alright? Now, let's go see what I'm talking about here, because that's what you got to do. Notice we have our carpenter's square up against our rotor. Make sure it fits flat up against it. Now we should have this ruler coming straight out at a 90-degree from here. So this is the way she comes out. It's a 90-degree angle. Now this has to come straight out from the car. You can't go on an angle like this. It shouldn't be on an angle where it's leading forward. Straight off the car. Now, so this is it. This is good. Well, I adjusted it so it will fit. Okay? I mean, so it will be at a 90. When I first started, this thing was back like this. Well, not, I'm exaggerating a little bit. I had to actually, bring that tie rod out to straighten this thing out. So she was coming straight at me. So you have to go ahead and do the other wheel, the other rotor, the same way. Now, in order to make these adjustments, to bring this in and out, you have to adjust your tie rod. So what you do, you just loosen up the locking nut on the back here, and you get a wrench and you put it around this bar, usually to find a little flat spot on here, and you turn it one way or you turn it the other way, depending on which way you want this whole thing to go in or you want it to come out. Alright? We're just getting in the ballpark here. That's all we're doing. Just getting in the ballpark. Now when I say neutral position of the steering wheel, this is what I mean. The steering wheel is neither to the left or to the right. It's in a neutral position. Now that means your wheel should be straight ahead. You should do this before you do any adjustments to your tie rods. Your wheels have to be straight. Now this car doesn't have traditional coil springs. This has what's called torsion bars on them, okay, and they are the springs. So what we have to do on this car, since the whole front suspension was taken out and replaced, we have to go ahead and set up our riding height, okay. Now there's a lot of little different ways to do this thing. They get pretty technical, the angle of the lower control arm and all that kind of stuff, but overall, if you check out your car before you take it apart and you measure the height from the top of your fender opening, your wheel opening, if you measure from the top of your wheel opening to the top of your tire, you can use that as a gauge, all right, to set your riding height. Now, to set the riding height on a torsion bar setup, you have to just go under there, underneath the rear of your torsion bar, and then there's like a finger on there that applies pressure to it, a lever. All right, you have to tighten up that lever until you get your car the right riding height. And so what I did is, before I disassembled this car, I measured it. Real technical way. 3 fingers, all right? You put 3 fingers underneath the lip of the car. Let me show you. When the tire was on the car and it wasn't on any jack stands, if you put 3 fingers underneath the center lip to your tire, that's what it took. Okay, this would just slide in and I just touched the bottom of the tire. Alright, at normal riding height. And so when I put it back together, now when I put my tires on, I'm going to have to crank down these torsion bar levers until I get the 3-finger clearance. Alright, now if you didn't have that to go by, what you could use is, if you make your car level, drop it down on your jacks, okay, so your car is just sitting level, you can go to the rear of your car normally, and you should have whatever clearance you have on that back tire, you should have on the front. This is just an estimate. Usually that's how it works. Unless your car is really jacked up or the springs are shot, that's a good rule of thumb to go by. Because it was riding pretty good before, fairly much. That riding height seemed pretty good to me, so I'm going to return it back to the original riding height. Now, once you get your ride height adjusted by adjusting the tension cams on the back of your torsion bars, or if you just have coil springs, you don't even have to worry about that. But once you get that height adjusted and each side is the same level, you can still get the same measurement over your tire, from your tire to the top lip of your fender, you're good to go. Then what you need, forget about what I have in my hand. What you could probably use is 2 sticks, I'd say about 3 or 4 feet long, and get some big heavy duty clamps, alright? Then what you want to do is you want to get to the front edge of that tire. Pull the sticks all the way apart till you get to the insides of the tire, of both tires. Then hold on to it real good and put your clamps on it. Alright? Then get that stick and put it on the back side of the tires. Alright? And see if it fits. If it just goes in good, that means the distance between the front of the tires is the same as in the back. Then you have 0 toe in. All right, normally most manufacturers recommend about 1/8 of an inch toe in, but on this Porsche, they want 0 toe in. So I'm going to use my toe in gauge that I have. I got a long time ago, and basically it does the same thing as 2 sticks. 2 sticks might even be more accurate. As a matter of fact, I think it is. I'm going to use 2 sticks myself. See you in a little bit. Like I said, I'm not even going to bother with my regular toe-in gauge, because you need at least 8 or 10 inches of clearance underneath the car, and this car does not have it. Alright, I kind of like this idea better. You get 2 metal, and it could even be wood, yardsticks. Get 2 nice firm clamps, and you have yourself a good gauge. Now, what other things you got to worry about when you're doing a front end alignment? You have to have the same air pressure in both of your front tires. Alright, not only that, they both have to be in pretty good shape. You can't have one tire that's ball headed and one tire that has a lot of tread, because that will throw off a lot of your measurements too. Alright, and another thing you have to worry about is the floor. The floor that you're doing this measurement on has to be flat. My suggestion is get yourself one of the biggest carpenter's level that you can. Get a nice straight edge, you know, sight it up, make sure it's real nice and straight. Put it right next to the spot where you're going to put your tires, where you can drive your car. Make sure it's nice and level. If not, you're going to have to get a piece of wood under there or something to shim it up to make sure everything is nice and level before you even start working on your car. Now, another thing you got to watch out for too is the point that you measure. You have to measure on the frontmost leading part of the insides of your tire. Okay? Now, sometimes there's lettering on the inside. Sometimes you even have like a little groove or a raised area, okay, that's going around the tire. So you can't go with your ruler on one side of that raised level on one tire, and on the other side of the other tire, go on the ridge. Yeah, you follow me here? You got to be on a flat, the same flatness on each side of the tire. All right, you can't go into any raised areas. Or if you want to go into a raised area, you have to go into the raised area on the other side too. All right, you following me here? Now, you want to make sure you take these measurements at pretty much the same spot on each side of the tire too. So what I did is I just got a 4x4 and laid it next to the tire on the left side and laid it one on the right side. Well, sometimes I use it on the right side, sometimes I don't. I can pretty much gauge it, you know. So this way, you know you're going to be like 3.5 inches up on one side, right? Because you'll be working on the other side, you won't really be able to hold this thing too steady. So if you just lay it on top of that 4x4 and put it right up against the spot of the tire that you want, you can go ahead, take these clamps off, and just slide this thing out until you get to the inside front of the other side of the tire. Then once you get that measurement and you have this thing nice and snug in your hand, you go ahead and apply your clamps. Then you go in the back side of the tire, okay? You do the same measurement on the rear side of the tire, and of course if the front is smaller dimension than the back, you have toe in, okay? On this car, I want 0. So, and another thing here now, when you're making adjustments to that tie rod, unless you have a set of turntables, you know, there's something that they put it on the tire on, and then they can turn it, you know, you're going to have to, every time you make an adjustment, you're going to have to jack up that car. Then you can go ahead and tighten down that tie rod or loosen it up, whatever you have to do to make sure that the tire moves. Because if you don't, you can tighten up that tie rod, and what's going to happen is the tire might twist a little, all right? Maybe nothing, maybe not even twist at all. But because it's stuck to the ground and it can't move, right? You might just be moving the top just a little bit, even though you're turning it a lot. That's no good. That's why you got to jack the tire up or have a turntable. So when you make an adjustment, it actually affects the tire. Okay, you can't be adjusting a tire that can't move. You have to do that on both sides. I know it's a pain. But what can I say? It's not that hard if you have like one of those quick reaction short pull jacks or something. They're like 1 or 2 pulls or something will jack, you know, the car up. They're great. Yeah, of course you can always get a regular, you know, rolling floor jack, one of those ones from Harbor Freight. So you have to do, you know, pump it 5 or 6 times. Big deal. That's how you have to do it. Another thing you have to watch out for too, you have to count the threads on both sides. All right. If you have 5 threads left on your tie rod end on that side, you should have 5 of them left on this side. And so make the adjustments so they're both the same. You can't do all your adjustments from one side. You have to split that adjustment level and half on one side and half on the other. All right, and that's about it for toe-in. In the next video I will cover camber and caster. Now, on a car like this, it is a little tricky, let me tell you. You don't have all the shims and stuff like you do on an American car. All you have is this big pole that goes across on the towers here, and you have a couple bolts in there where you can, you know, maybe pull the bar. Yeah, you can pull the bar in a little bit by the big nuts that are on there, or you can move a little bit to the front and a little bit to the back. All right. Well, that's really all you really need. But actually, these adjustments that you're going to be doing is actually moving the whole tower. Yeah, moving the whole tower that the strut is attached in. So you're moving that whole big piece of sheet metal like this way or this way, you know, except for when you go frontwards and backwards. I think there's enough room in that hole that, you know, you can get a little bit of an adjustment there because they have a plate sitting up on top. I'll have to show you what I mean. See what I'm talking about? This big brace that goes between the 2 towers? It comes all the way over here. Now you can tighten this whole big brace up to shorten the distance, and you could actually will be pulling these 2 towers together. I think this was an add-on thing that they put on. Normally, caster and camber on this kind of a car isn't even done. I mean, this is an add-on aftermarket thing. All right, so you can do adjustments to it, but everything is preset at the factory. Now this is a close-up of this aftermarket front end alignment bar, stabilizer bar that's installed on this car. Now you can see that if we move this whole thing this way, we can get one adjustment, and then we can also twist and move it this way. Now as far as changing the camber, we just get this bar right here, tighten up on this bar, and this will pull the 2 towers in closer together. Or we can unloosen them and push them apart. We could change the camber like that. Okay, gentlemen, till the next video, this is Vince, AutoRestorationVideos.com. Check out my website and click on my Facebook link. Find out more information on this project and other projects I have done in the past. Thanks a lot. See you in the next video.